Hello everyone, this is Alex from MenuDocs, and in today's episode we're going to be returning to our Introduction to Web Development series. Today is episode 6 and we're going to be getting into making a button in CSS. Now before we get into this, I would like to quickly make sure everyone knows this is a re-upload because in the last episode recording of episode 6, my mic sort of gave up. So, with a new mic, and hopefully some better sounding quality, let's get into this episode. So guys, when I'm not recording this in the middle of the night, hopefully I can make this look better. So, let's start by actually creating our button. And in this episode, we're going to make buttons, and to make the button, we're going to be using CSS classes. And we'll talk more about CSS classes in the next episode, but in this episode specifically, we're going to use one just vaguely. I'm not going to explain completely how they work until the next episode. So, we're going to be using our A tag that we talked about before with our link here, and we're going to use a little bit of JavaScript here, and we're going to make this void 0, and we're going to define a class as my button. We're actually going to put MenuDocs as our text. Now this is just a basic link, and I know it's just a link. Wowza. Like, oh my lord, I've never seen something so fancy in my life. But we're gonna make this look really nice here in just a minute, because as of right now, this is what it looks like. So let's actually make it look relatively nice, and let's pull up some CSS. Now, as I said, we're going to be using some very basic CSS classes. To do this, we're going to be defining that this CSS is for this class. And I'm just going to go through some of the things that we've done before that we were doing in the last episode and the episode before that with basic CSS, because basic CSS so I'm going to do this really fast and we'll be right back. Alright guys, so now we're going to talk about adding in a couple of things that we have not talked about. We're going to talk about border radii, which is just to make our button look kind of circly. So if we go to border top left radius, and we're going to set those to 20 pixels, and we're going to save. And then if we refresh this, you'll notice that our button has a nice curve to it. Now to easily show this off, we're actually going to skip down a little bit before we do the rest of our corners here. And we're going to go down to under our font size here. And we're going to do padding. Now I know I was saying that we were not going to do padding until we started doing cleanup episodes, but I'm really quickly just going to knock padding out, and I'll explain what padding does. So padding is just the amount of space between your border, and you can do padding for the actual I think I haven't done it right, have I? No. You can do padding from each wall to in here, So like you can do padding, like if I wanted to make this a padding line, I could do a padding of like, I don't know, that's probably 800 pixels, and it would end up here. And padding is just usually done for smaller like movements like this right here. Like the text right here, it's 15 pixels of padding, 15 pixels of padding, and so on around all the sides, because we defined our padding right here. Now, we're also going to do a font weight bold, and I'll show you all what this does. If you notice, we now have bold font. That's just a way of doing bolding your font in italic in CSS. Let's do a font style. We're going to do italic. And what this is just going to do is, as you can see, it's straight up, and now it's italics. And font style is just pretty much making an italic. Pretty much just making italics, or I think, oh, what's in here? Underlines is a text decoration, and we can talk about those really fast, actually, because we need to get rid of our link underline. Decoration. Make that none. If you notice, you see the underline here. Now it goes away. It's just a simple way of doing that. Okay, so let's actually go back to our borders, because we have one border here. Let's make 2, 3, 4. So we have top left, top right, and then we have bottom left and bottom right. And if we go here and refresh, now you'll notice we have a complete circle. Now, let's actually do two things really fast. Let's do a really quick quality of life, like make just good practice text indent 0 pixels. Now this does nothing, but it is good practice to have a 0 pixel indent in buttons in case you need to indent to add things like icons to your buttons. And I do a lot of that normally, so it's just good practice to have a 0 pixel indent. That way, for one, it's much easier to just go and change a pixel value, but also it just tells it that there is definitely no indent, so it doesn't have to guess. Now, let's get it off of this, let's get it off of the top bar here, shall we? To do that, let's do display inline block. And that, if we refresh it, should take it off the top. And that just moves it so it's in line with the outside margins and it's brought inside the actual body element. That way we don't have things floating and attaching to the top. And that is pretty much the code for the button. Now, let's actually add in 2 more button-specific classes. So it's my button again, :hover. And this is just going to make it so when we hover over the button, we're going to make it change color here. And to do that, we're going to do background color, and I have my hexadecimal values off to the side, and there we go. Now if we refresh and hover over it, you'll notice that the background changes colors. It's really kind of awesome. And let's do one more, so when we actually click on it, it's not just hope it worked. We actually get a register when something happens. So my button :active. We're going to make the position, and we're going to make it relative. I need to space that so it doesn't have stroke. We're going to make top. we're going to make this 1 pixel, and I'll explain what both of these do in a second. So now, if we refresh and click on it, nothing's going to happen. What did I screw up? My button. Oh. I can't spell, that's what's happening. That's what's going on here. There we go. Notice it moves just a little bit. And to show that off, let's change this to 10 pixels, which is a little ridiculous. I would never use 10 pixels because, oof, that's a big click. But if we change it to something more realistic, like 3 pixels, which is my normal value here, you'll notice it looks more three-dimensional because when you click on it, it looks like it's pushing backwards on a three-dimensional plane, whereas in reality, it's just moving up and down a little bit up here. But it looks three-dimensional. Now to explain what the code's doing. The position is just where your thing is. It's where your button is. And we make it relative to that position. So it's going to be where that position is. And then we're going to move it from the top, which is just what the top does, and we're going to move the top 3 pixels. And by default, it moves it the opposite direction. So top 3 pixels would, as it shows here, move down 3 pixels. And since we have the background color, when we hover over it, we're combining a lot of things. And if you notice, the JavaScript void that we specified is also looking a lot better here because we aren't actually refreshing the page. We're just able to sit here and click on it and nothing's going to happen. And that's about it. That is how to make a button in CSS. If you all enjoy it, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. I'm really sorry that the original upload had terrible volume, and I would like to give a huge shout out to one of our proficient team in MenuDocs, Robert Caliente, who helped out a lot here and got me the code for this episode. I was running a little low on time, and he stepped up to the plate and got me the code I needed. So thank you to everyone for watching, and as always, happy coding.
Today's video is proudly powered by our partner, Oxide Hosting. Get your products hosted by them with their cheap, reliable services. So what are you waiting for? Check them out in the description below.